So normally when people are recording something, they tend to usually just go to a camera and I guess have a plan. Uh, and to tell you the truth, I don't have one because I don't really know what the point of this channel is. To tell you the truth, I don't really have a clear answer as to why I made it in the first place years ago. Sometimes I'll comment on YouTube videos, sometimes I won't. It's just always been there, and I've tried making videos in the past, but being like a full-on content creator just never really was something that I wanted to go for long term. But lately, life has kind of been pulling me in different directions, and I've just kind of needed an outlet. Lately, I've been feeling pretty lonely at home, and you have no one to talk to, and things just get kind of weird, especially when you feel like you have so much to talk about. If you kind of just had someone to talk to your problems. I guess what I'm kind of trying to say is that I just need to talk. I can't guarantee that this place is going to be any sort of informative or fun. I just need an outlet. If anyone wants to watch it happen, if anyone sees it, fine. I don't care if just like one person sees the video and just listens to me go on about whatever. I really don't care. Lately, just things have been on my mind. Things that I wanted to get off. I feel like I should just give myself a place to talk. And yeah, I guess this is kind of the place for it. I don't really plan on telling anyone that I know about this channel. I don't plan on telling my friends or family that I randomly talk to my entire life. Just, some random people on YouTube. And I think that it's the anonymity, or is that the correct word? Anonymity. Just being anonymous just makes it a little bit better for everyone involved. I just need a place to talk, and yeah, that's just what the whole point of this is. I guess you're gonna have me like beating around the bush a lot, saying the same thing in like different phrases. Get ready for that. But I don't want to really talk about like how minimal this is going to be any more than I already am. So just if you want to stick around for the ride, cool. If not cool. That's not really what I'm doing. I just want to have a little fun. Lately, I've been in a little bit of a rut. I kind of just needed to get it off my chest, so I'll just go ahead and start off. Lately, I feel like I've been putting too many rules on myself to enjoy life lately, and I think it's really putting a damper on how happy I really am. Like, don't get me wrong, I really do like my life. I have a girlfriend. I have a really close friend, like a ride or die that a lot of people can say that they don't have, or not a lot of people can say that they also have. Is, by the way, I have like a condition where it's not even a condition. I just am really bad at it. So that's just gonna be like another big issue where I don't, I find it very hard to talk to people, even people that close people in my life. Sometimes I just hate hearing myself talk to them because I feel like I just look like a damn fool. And that's just, another thing. So like me putting rules and restrictions on everything in my life, I feel like I can't really enjoy things anymore unless I do it a certain way. Or it's, kind of like when you think about like Elden Ring and you think about how the community always likes to be completely trashy to you if you didn't complete the game a certain way or if you used a certain function or feature or item. And they like to say that you didn't actually have a real playthrough and you didn't really complete the game. And I haven't really had many run-ins with that myself, mainly because I try to stay off of Reddit as best as I can, unless I have like a genuine question. By the way, I'm not good at video games. You're just gonna see me going around shooting, just playing this game because Well, we'll get into that in a bit, but I'm not good. Don't expect any good gameplay. Just kind of expect me talking and just listening to this banger soundtrack. Like I said, please don't expect much from this channel. If it does ever become something more, I honestly, you know what? I don't even talk about that because I don't even want to think about that responsibility. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, no, gamble on life, blah blah blah. That's right. I don't want to have to repeat these outcomes for everyone who might be listening. And also, I'm not going to be able to have much of a conversation with myself if I can't even continue it. Yeah, it's just like, I think that I don't personally interact with Reddit, but I feel like, yeah, I've seen plenty of experiences or instances where people just really do not like to let you have fun, and I've been like that to myself lately to the point where I just, I feel so damn shamed. Especially because of how judgmental like I can be to myself. I feel judgmental for being judgmental. And the craziest part is that I still like to constantly judge myself for being judgmental. I know. You ever feel like when you feel a certain way about something, you just want to, you just tell yourself, no, you don't actually feel this way. You're just pretending like you feel this way to make yourself, actually feel bad. Like, you really try to tell yourself that what you're feeling is actually just your own fault or just all in your head. It's like, oh man, am I depressed? No, you're not depressed. There's actually people that are depressed. Am I angry? No, you have no reason to be angry compared to the thousands of other reasons you might be angry. Like, for example, someone who invested all their money into freaking Counter-Strike 2 knives, and then the new update came out and crashed the market by like $1 billion cap, which is crazy, by the way. But I feel like I'm alone in that kind of regard. I really don't want to Google these kind of things because at that point, I feel like if you just have to Google the simple, like, feeling about yourself, it just always feels so stupid to look up. And I know that if I'm trying to Google something about feelings, I'm not really going to come up with any good results. And then I'm just going to throw myself into another circle of self-doubt about, like, should I really be trusting what Google is telling me? Eventually, it just all blends into just this whole mess of just distrust. You know what I mean? Like, it feels terrible. And yeah, sometimes when I'm feeling a certain way or I'm getting anxiety about something, I tell myself that I don't deserve it. And I feel like I've been especially doing that lately. And I guess I'll kind of get into like the whole thing of why this channel was made in the first place. I'll kind of come around to it. I kind of just wanted to give myself like a place where I could just talk to myself and to someone, in a sense, for like a half hour where I'll just play whatever video games I feel. Because I feel like outside of watching anime, that is like what I'm mainly doing throughout the day. And I will say my next thing, yeah, I don't have an actual job. I did up until a few days ago. I lost it. More like I quit because of just a terrible workplace environment. And lately I've been feeling terrible for being unemployed and thinking that it was my fault for quitting. As much as I hated the job, as much as my boss was really awful to me, he was completely ready to fire me from the look of it, or at least just to replace me. I could tell that I was very expendable for him. I just still feel bad. Maybe I shouldn't have left. Maybe it didn't make difference. Maybe I wouldn't be as successful. Yeah, I feel like every choice that I make in life, every big move that I make, that like chooses where my next direction in tutorial is, like, I feel like I'm always making the wrong choice that just somehow like makes my life worse. Like dating sim visual novel, and I somehow rejected or got rejected by every single love interest possible. Or I guess I'm the one rejecting all the love interests. I don't. Sometimes I just make up random analogies on the go, and I don't know where they're going. So okay. I'm very bad at talking. I'm very bad at talking to myself even, and talking to other people. I also kind of just want a place where I can work on my social skills for at least, the better of, something, I guess. I can't really word it properly. I just needed a place. And yeah, lately, since I've been unemployed, I've been door dashing, and I have enough money in my savings for a while to keep my girlfriend and I afloat. We live together, we have a place together, and she still has her own job, so we still have income, and we have enough money saved up to the point where I can actually not work for plenty of time because, well, I didn't really take vacation. The only days I ever got off were sick days, and that really added up in the last few days or the last few weeks of my employment, because the amount of stress from the job was just making me sick to my stomach. I was vomiting most mornings when I wake up. You know, I can kind of understand why a rooster starts his day screaming now, but that anxiety got to me every day, and eventually what made me leave was one day I actually was sick and my boss was being a real asshole about it and texting me threatening to replace me because of how often that I've been getting sick in the last few, months. In reality, I only missed out 1 week because I had a really, really bad condition that led me to throwing up several times per day, which sounds fake, but in reality, it was actually my girlfriend and I's anniversary, 1 year anniversary together, and we had just moved in together at this time too, but yeah, our anniversary had hit, and after I got home from work, I just started throwing up. I don't remember what the specific catalyst was that I had a very bad day at work, but something caused me to just throw up. And it didn't let up. Later, I went to bed early, but later that night, I got up in the middle of the night. I was throwing up again and again and again, and carried over to the next morning to the point where I just seriously could not even get out of bed. And every time I drank water, I threw up even more. Like, I could not retain whatever water that I tried to, drink. My body couldn't keep it down. It was a freaking nightmare. And I threw up somewhere around 8 or 9 times that day on the lower end of the guess. I'm being generous, but I genuinely think it was more than 8 or 9 times. It had to have been at least 10, but it was a lot, is my real point. Here, I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. My real point is that it was a lot. Way more than any person should ever do in one day. 1 week, even. It was just terrible that day, and it didn't let up. And truthfully, I already knew exactly what would happen if I'd went to the doctor. They were just gonna they were just gonna give me a freaking, IV, and that would literally be the end of it. They would just, probably draw my blood, and yeah, that would be the end. I didn't want to do that because then they were just going to, what, make me pay $2,000, and then after my insurance, it'll be $3,000. And, probably doesn't make sense that it's a joke about how stupid insurance is. But I already knew what was happening if I went to the ER or to the doctor or just anywhere if I got looked at. But lo and behold, after 3 days, I went, and yeah, I was just given an IV and blood work, and they just said it was a stomach flu. Just take it easy. Yeah, I really. Sometimes I'd rather just not be right. I'd much rather that they just did more, because I don't really like the doctors, because nowadays I just know, yeah, people really do it for the paycheck. And I'm one of those people who, excuse me for putting on my tinfoil hat here, but I do believe that insurance companies are stupid, and I do believe that they're a terrible business model. And the reason why I believe it is because the only reason you would ever think that health insurance should, cost money for everyone to have is because you either have never had free health insurance, or you some way monopolize, or you profit off of the fact that healthcare ain't free. That's something that I know very well. I worked in insurance for a year, and I can, I do not like America's healthcare system. Like, I literally was selling insurance, and even I could see how terrible it was. I guess that was another reason why I left. I just couldn't handle, working in such a crappy job. Not just crappy by boss, but just crappy by in terms of, like, day to day. And I wasn't even just like, selling after a while. Eventually, I became less of a salesperson and I worked in the back office, but I was not doing good on insurance sales for after a little bit. So eventually, it just became like a full back office position for me because, I didn't just apply for the job. It was more like, a friend was starting the company, a friend from church specifically. It's not like we're the same age. As you can tell probably by my voice, I'm on the younger side of, adulthood. He's, let's just say he's a dad. I think that should just give pretty much all the, perspective you need. And, about a year ago, he asked me to do it with him because he was really hyping it up and, for me to be an agent and everything, and I agreed. Of course, now looking back a year later, he really is a salesman through and through. Like, the guy was really selling me on just working that damn job. And, yeah, looking back now, I really regret it. I mean, I did make good money for a bit. I did get by, but that was kind of it. Eventually I started putting mental health, or sorry, money over my mental health, and that's when the problems really started to kick in with, like, my stress and me getting sick to my stomach so often. Like, it was just a combination of everything, and yeah, I guess I just had enough. And after he threatened me when I got super sick one time, like, what happened was he just threatened me. I said I couldn't handle it anymore and I left. And since then, my mental health has been both up and down. Lately, I've been feeling unsafe everywhere just because of how high pressure the job gets, that eventually sometimes I actually feel like I'm working. And even when I'm not at work, it's like I get that stress, and then I feel like because I'm currently not working, I get mad at myself. In reality, it's always my boss who I feel like would be mad at me over every little thing. And I think I just threw that onto myself after a while, which was another reason why I had such terrible mental health for a good, few months before I left the job. It's just because I knew damn well that, like, I just couldn't be happy. I couldn't find happiness with that position. So I left. And lately, as much as I want to be proud of myself for making the right choice, I've been door dashing to, at least have a little bit of extra of my own money. Because, yeah, we're good with money, but it also just sucks when you're doing nothing all day and you're kind of just thinking, you don't know where your next step in life is. And that's when it gets really hard, man. And I think that's why I needed to do this. I needed to have a place to talk to because things have just been. I feel like I've made things unintentionally so hard for myself, and I feel like I've got no one to blame but me. I didn't have to leave that job. I really could have stuck it out, man. Like, it was abusive, but if I do need the money. I don't want to, you know, keep my girlfriend in just this crappy position in life where we feel like financially, if one thing goes awry, her and I would be in a financially stressful situation. And luckily, we're not there, but I don't want us to ever fall there. And I feel like if because we're heading in that direction, I'm failing as a boyfriend and as a person. And I'm not here to talk about my relationship problems. My relationship is by far the best thing I have in my life. You know, it's amazing, and I am super lucky to have someone as loving and supportive as her, and someone that I can just say is my best friend, but also like my partner. I am so lucky to have that. Like, beyond everything else in my life, if there's one thing that I could ever say that I fully appreciate, it's the fact that I got to have my girlfriend in my life. If there's anything at all that I could never complain about, I feel like that would be at the top of the list. Just because of how I feel like also if she weren't around at this time, especially, things would be way tougher for me. I probably wouldn't be able to get through what I'm going through without her. And I same with my best friend. Like the two of them are my entire world. I have my own family, and we're still in touch. I moved out, but I still call my mom. I still call my dad, and I see them, well, every now and then, like once a week or so. They don't know, and another big thing is they don't know that I'm unemployed. They knew my boss from church, but they haven't been in touch since, mainly because now that I'm an adult, I'm still in touch with them myself, but because my mom doesn't go to church anymore, you know, they haven't really seen each other at all. And I just realized it'd be a very terrible situation if my mom ended up going to church and my boss were to say something to me or say something to her. And I feel like if she were to just randomly go to church, that would absolutely happen, and that would be a terrible situation. They don't know that I left because they don't even know that I lost the sales position and downgraded to, working in the back office. And a big reason why is because the pay compared like between the two positions. Now, for sales, it's a lot more volatile. We didn't have an hourly base pay. We literally just got paid based off of the commission of our sales. And even then, that wasn't great. Like, looking back now, yeah, I can say 1,000 bad things about this. I just knocked my microphone down. I could say like a lot of bad things about my job at the end of the day. Looking back, I can't believe I missed this, I missed that. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm some army psychologist who is just suddenly able to get the clear picture. I'm not that, some amazing detective. See, I don't have anything to increase my max health. But yeah, no, lately. Nice. I don't want to pretend like I know all of that, but I never told my parents that I got downgraded because of all the people that I know would be scared or panicky the most or on my cases about it, it would be them. And I know, yes, believe me, I know they love me. I already know all the cliches. I've heard it 1,000 times and I understand it. But at the same time, it's like my parents have always been like the first people in my life to always, you know, discourage me when the going gets tough. Since I was always a kid, it was always like, if it looks too tough, you're probably just better off not doing it. Maybe it's because they don't expect much of me, but maybe it's just because they truly believe that, you should quit as soon as it looks bad. But I just never have been that way. And even then, when it was looking bad, I always stuck it out. I always tried my best. And when that failed, then eventually I lost, the sales position. And I feel like I sugarcoated a lot at the beginning, talking about like, how smooth the transition was. It was not a smooth transition at all. But I know that my parents would definitely have a lot of a harder time than I am with life. And I haven't had the hardest time with life when I got downgraded. My pay was cut, but, you know, shit. My pay was cut, but it wasn't enough to the point where it affected me or my income, and I still had a lot of money saved up for worst case. And I still was able to make do with what I had just fine. So it's never been an issue before. And I feel like, part of me is upset for being so damn disrespectful to them by not telling them. Excuse me. Then again, there's another part of me that just, if I do tell them, they're gonna constantly, bug me about it, and everything that I say is gonna sound terrible, but every, direction that I see it going after telling them just isn't good. And until it gets to the point where I genuinely need help for the people that I need most to step in, that's when I would truly come to them and approach them and tell them everything. But I'm making do just fine. I'd rather my parents already have their own financial struggles outside of me that they have to deal with. You know, me being gone at the house is at least it's one less mouth to feed. And I don't ever ask them for money because I don't need your money. And they don't ask me for money either. We know that we'll help each other out when the time comes, but we would never ask up until then. And I know my mom has always been like that. She's been the last person in the world to ever ask for money. You know, I know that people have always seen those jokes about like, oh, you know, my mom, hey, where's my birthday money? Oh yeah, I already spent your birthday money. No, my parents have never been that way. And they have like never once done anything with my money or to mess with it, or they've never been unintegrated, I guess disingenuous, especially when it comes to finances. They're good people. They don't deserve financial struggle as much as, you know, someone like me would. I'm not a great person, to tell you the truth. Like, you'll get like a 30-minute to an hour talk, you know, glimpse of me, but I'm just talking, and, you know, I don't really think you could gauge me enough from that. Maybe, hopefully I can find myself a little bit better and just see myself as a bit of a better person. Maybe I am actually a great freaking person, but I just can't seem to come to terms with that if so. But truthfully, I would much rather believe that I'm a bad person than and be good than believe that I'm a good person and just be an asshole. Mainly because I feel like that lack of self-awareness would be worse than, you know, just, I guess, being overconfident would suck, and I can't really bring myself to do that, and I feel like I'd much rather just be... I'd rather assume less of myself and be, you know, surprised. Which, it really just sounds like I'm saying, like, you know, Spider-Man No Way Home, don't expect, you know, expect disappointment and you won't be disappointed. Kinda, sure, yeah, whatever. But sometimes I don't want to pretend like my farts smell better than anyone else. They don't. And I know that, and I don't really want anyone to think that I feel that way. For example, I can't even freaking shoot a crab. How good can I really be outside of this? And every day, it might be a different game every day, honestly. I feel like I should bring myself to encourage a little bit more of diversity. The only issue is that, you know, with story games, I wouldn't really be able, and I really wanted to get around to talking about that too, but we'll get to that in a second. Just with story games in general, I really don't feel like it would be a good idea to just for me to talk over the story, because then, like, if you want to watch a story game, why are you going to watch someone who's talking over the whole story? And if I'm going to play a story game, what good is it if I'm talking over it, you know? So, yeah, that's the, I guess, brass tacks of everything so far. With my job and my parents, and yeah, I guess we're gonna get into a bit of the more personal matters. So, another big thing with my job is that I had to make a very long drive each way, and as a result, like, being able to enjoy my hobbies outside of the weekend was very hard. Like, my schedule was terrible, and my sleep schedule sucked too. Like, I really tried my best to stay up as late as possible and minimize my sleep in order to, like, get back for all that lost time that, you know, between all the driving and the really long hours of work. It's Monday through Friday. It's 9 hours a day without the driving. It's 11 and a half total with, like, after all the driving and just work itself included. Like, and there's so much, like, time, and even saying those hours out loud doesn't sound right. And I guess I could break it down, but my schedule has been really bad, and I have found it so hard to, like, you know, I love story games. I think that story games are, like, you know, truly what makes video games so special to me. But I also love games like this where I can just run around and be a crab and just shoot out a bunch of skulls and slugs and other small crabs. Like, I just love, like, the diversity that, video games bring you, just, like, the sheer limitlessness of it. But story games themselves bring so much potential and so much room. And I always have had a soft spot for those. But lately, it's been so hard for me to play a story game because of all of these conditions in mind. The most time that I've gotten out of a video game is, during the weekends, and even then, it's not much. I try to put all my free time on the weekends into video games because I get such little time during, excuse me. I get such little time during, the week where I'm stuck with work and in between, and just after work, I'm really tired. And if anything, I'll get on with my friend and we'll play a game together. But it's not going to be the story games that I oh so covet for. It's going to be Marvel Rivals, or some other shooter game, or just some game that him and I can. Smash Bros. That was our original game before we started playing shooter games together. We played a lot of Smash Ultimate. That was the game that we'd unwind and spend, our entire night playing with each other, against each other, and coming up with stupid rules and challenges. That was like our original, nights. And I don't hate those. Okay, I should say it better. I love those nights. I really appreciate them, where I get to hang out and talk with him, and I get to hear about his day, and, I get to unload mine on him. Like, that's always great. And it's just, I haven't been able to do story games as a result. And usually I want to talk to him about his day. I want to hear about his day, and I want to talk to him about mine. So I'm never going to turn him down when he wants to play, unless it's like, one of those days. But yeah, usually him and I will get on, most nights to talk, and I've never had a problem with that in particular. But when it's between that and the, work itself, it gets really hard to, do what I really want to do, to watch the anime that I want to watch as well, because those are like two of my biggest passions by far. And I've always wanted to get into voice acting too, which is another thing that I really want to talk about. But I've just done that, Sometimes I feel, ungrateful, I guess, because there's some people who just don't have time for any of that at all. And I'm lucky to have someone that I can talk with and play games with, but I want to be able to do the stuff that, makes me happy. And since I left my job, I got back into playing story games. I played Expedition 33, which was, I really was trying my hardest to play it throughout the year. Like, since Expedition 33 first came out, I've heard nothing but praise for it. I got the game really quickly because it was really easy for me to want to get the game, because turn-based combat is, like, I freaking love turn-based combat. And it was, like, my favorite genre growing up, like, with not just Pokemon, and even Digimon, which I also played as well, Time Stranger. But not just Pokemon, but, like, I like the Mario and Luigi games more than I like most of the mainline Mario games. Maybe it's just because Luigi's there, but I love those games. I love Octopath Traveler. I like Fire Emblem, though that one's a little bit, up in the air, because I haven't really played much past Awakening so far. I've only played Awakening and a little bit of Fates, but that's just because I modded both on my 3DS, and I was more interested in playing Awakening first because I loved Matthew Mercer, and like him playing Chrom was a huge selling point for me. Like, above all the other, Fire Emblem games, like Matthew Mercer Chrom just kind of sold it. I guess maybe that's why I chose that one first. But, I loved Expedition 33. I just couldn't bring myself to finish it. I don't know if it was just the fact that, like, I wasn't able to fully enjoy the story because of, like, how sporadically I played it throughout everything. But, like, during my employment, I couldn't do it. And eventually it stopped. It didn't stop at Expedition 33. Like, it became every game. I started becoming, I've always been a hard procrastinator, especially at school. Like, I didn't have the best grades, but like it was really starting to show just how easy it is for me to just want to stop doing something, or how easily I get discouraged. And despite all the hype I had for Expedition 33, or the genuine love I had for the game, it got really hard to just finish it, and I just never did. Like, after months of playing it, I got very close to the finale, and I stopped playing the game altogether. Like, I literally just dropped it. Like, genuinely have not played it, or did not play it for months. And I remember the story. I had everything retained in my mind up until that point. It's not like I forgot. And also, just another big reason, on top of just me not being able to find the time, I feel like if I did to just slowly work out, the little by little, like, over the next few weeks, I'd be putting in all this little by little time. You just eventually it would be over. And I feel like after that, it looked so bleak for me. And I really shouldn't be complaining about playing video games, but here, I guess here I am. That's what I'm doing, I guess. But I just wish that I enjoyed it a little bit more up until then. Or at least I let myself, because I really just kept putting on those bullshit rules in my life, and it got super, super hopeless at one point. But after I left my job and everything, I finally got back around to playing Expedition 33, and I finally finished it. And it's like I said, it's not like I was far off, but I refused to pick up the game and just walk over to, not walk, I guess fly technically, because at the end of the game, when you have free roam, you're flying. To just hop on SGA and just fly to Lumiere and have that fight that I knew would mean that I would end the game. But on the way, I also took out some mini bosses, and there was actually one in particular that I was up fighting the entire night. It was not even like a mainline boss, it wasn't anything important, and the design wasn't even like anything, badass or boss, like Elden Ring, Souls-like boss worthy. It was just some weird snake with a lamp for a head. And the boss, like, I gotta say, it really frustrated me because of how it worked and how weird his attacks were. I messed up the timing a lot, and I'm playing this game on the hardest difficulty. I'm playing almost every game on the hardest possible difficulty, by the way. I like to. I like to challenge myself. I don't just want, like, some simple snooze fest, because if I'm gonna, pay money for an experience, I really want to get something out of it. Like, if I really, truthfully, if I was just gonna, like, play it on easy mode or whatever, I would have just either read up on the game, or, like, read up on everything that happens, or I would have just watched someone else play it on YouTube for free. Like, for example, I'm a huge Moist Critical fan, and probably would have just watched him play the game and have him talk about it instead of me playing it. But when there's a game that I genuinely want to play, like Expedition 33, and I've always wanted to play it, like, the second I saw clips of it, I just stopped hearing all spoilers and bought it for myself. I don't want to be spoiled. I don't want to have to, you know, let someone else do it for me. If I want to get the experience, I want to get something out of it. And if that means, like, a really hard, stressful challenge that I was able to, fully get all my resilience, gathered up in one spot and push through to the very end and finish that really insanely difficult game, then fine. That's how it'll be. Specifically with this mini boss in Expedition 33, I could have left at any time. I didn't have to keep fighting him. I could have just gave up. But I didn't. And I don't take it lightly when I say I'm stuck there for an hour. I've never really struggled with a boss on Expedition 33 for too long. I've always, like, eventually, within, like, a couple of attempts. Like, I'm not saying, like, I got everything, like, one or two tries, but I did get everything, once I understood it, very, very easily. But even so, with this boss, I couldn't. And you know what? I'm gonna Google him right now. Just give me one moment. Expedition 33 Snake Boss. Serpenfair. It's just some weird serpent looking thing. It's an endgame boss. But yeah. Anyway, so now Serpenfair, whatever, the freaking weird lighthouse snake. The way that the boss worked is that, like, so you have like action points, which is kind of like your, I guess your you know, mana for Expedition 33. It's not like, mana where it's like, you just get it, or you just have a bunch of it and then it just eventually wears out over time. Action points, like, if you did a standard attack instead of using some fancy skill, or if you were able to parry each attack that came in, and by the way, if you don't know Expedition 33, like, you can, like, it's like a Souls game with turn-based combat. But if you could parry the boss's attacks in between, you could build up a lot of action points. But this boss in particular, for the first time, I'm actually seeing a boss just eat up all of my action points. And for a really good while, I wasn't sure what to do. And like, after he eats up a certain amount of action points, he'll unleash a big attack. And I just thought that that's how it was, that you just couldn't use skills because he would just use them against you. But as it turns out, after like I took a bunch of parries on one attempt, I realized when he absorbs too many action points at once, and of course it's like there's finer details as to like how it works. Like specifically, he'll take about like 15 action points before he makes an attack, but if it gets to like 19 or 20, then he will what's it called? The lifetime. Sure, why not? But no, the way that it worked is like, after like he got like a certain amount, he would overload and he would take a bunch of damage. You'd have to parry the explosion, but I learned how to do that relatively quickly. I still messed up a lot though, and I think the big thing is that this boss took forever to die. It did not take me like, it took me like a good half hour to beat this guy with like wearing down his AP. Or no. It took me a half hour to beat a different boss that I had to wear down. I don't remember how that one took so long, but this boss in particular, with all the retries and everything, took me. I was pulling an all-nighter that night because I have insomnia. I can't really sleep, and in that particular night, I was up from like 3 in the morning, or probably even earlier than that, up until freaking, it was sunrise by the time that I finally managed to beat him. And I didn't really get much out of it. I didn't get like a cool item or anything. Honestly, it was just like some random fight as far as the game was concerned. Like I got like a Lumina and everything, or whatever. Picto? I forgot which one is which. I think Picto is the actual thing. But oh damn, I just got obliterated. I got me one of those, but outside of that, there was not really much of a reward. But I felt amazing for actually sticking that out and winning. And I'm really happy with that. And after that, I finally went over to the final boss, and I beat him in like 2 minutes, by the way. Like, when fighting the Serpenfair boss, I was making a lot of different strategy changes. I was rewriting a playbook a lot. Like, I was not sticking with one option. I changed a lot of, skills and gear and stats around until I found something that works. Or that works specifically for the boss. But as it turns out that, that counter strategy that I made for that boss was so damn good that it just worked well everywhere. To the point where I was able to just go to the final boss and I beat him in not even a minute. Like, the fight itself was very quick. And I'm not particularly mad about that. Like, I just consider that, like, all of my hard work just not going to waste, because I actually did have something to show for all the hours that I put into strategizing. Like, sure, as much as the final fight should have been a lot more cinematic, especially, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty. I'm pouring all this time into it. Like, yeah, sure. But at the same time, it's like, had I not changed around my strategy as much as I did, sure, why not? To prepare like I did, that fight would have gone a lot differently, and I just think that I just made the right choice there. and I'm trying to look with that mindset more lately. But after playing Expedition 33, I played Digimon. Actually, you know what? I completely messed up the order. I stopped playing Expedition 33, and then after like, some time passed after Expedition 33, Digimon Story Time Stranger had come out, and, Pokemon Legends ZA had also just simultaneously came out. I don't have a Switch 2. I still don't. And I really wasn't planning on getting one, especially not just for Legends ZA. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and I loved Legends Arceus, but ZA was not a good game from everything that I've seen of it, and all the footage that I've seen, all the YouTube videos talking about it, and how unfinished the game is. I know I'm not going to enjoy it. I don't even want to bother with it. I don't care. I'm not even going to get the Switch 1 version of it. And even then, it's just like the performance on the Switch 1 version kind of sucks too anyway. But after, yeah, so seeing Legends ZA, I just really, thought, man, Pokemon sucks nowadays. Because it really has been declining in quality. I've been one of the Pokemon fans who's been, aware of the ship sinking for a long time. But after seeing the very minimal effort put in Legends ZA, and then Digimon Story Time Strangers coming out at the same exact time, I decided to get Time Strangers instead. I had liked Digimon growing up as a kid. I'm not going to pretend like I've been a huge fan of it my whole life. I liked it as a kid. I remember Digimon Adventure a little bit growing up as a kid. Like, the original anime with, like, Tai and Agumon and, all the kids. Like, TK I remember as well. I think Randall, or is it Randy? I also remember that one kid who had Galmon, the boxing melon, as, like, his partner. And I remember there being, like, a really dark storyline about, like, how his mom just died. And for some reason, of all of my Digimon memories, literally the only two that I've retained from childhood, and I mean, like, very early adolescence, is the fact that Galmon was fighting alone against some monster that put everyone into a deep sleep, and him announcing his attack as right cross, and just the guy saying they can't hear you, they're in a deep sleep. I don't know why I remember that. I just do. I remember Galmon being the MVP, and I freaking love Galmon and Agumon. Greymon has always been, like, just freaking awesome to me growing up, and Metal Greymon, Geo Greymon, and I didn't really understand how Digivolve worked until I played the games, but I always found it cool. And it's cool. Whatever. It's not like my luck is that high enough to even worry about getting a secret chest. But yeah, no, I played Digimon instead of Pokemon, and I feel like I made the right choice, because I actually might go back and play Digimon World. I was thinking about Survive, but everyone's saying Survive is just kind of like, a visual novel with a Digimon skin on it. Visual novel before a Digimon game, rather. And I kind of just, I haven't been vibing with that, and I heard that people like, World as well. So I might get Digimon World next order. But even then, like, I don't have to get a Digimon game next. But if I do want to visit the series again, and I really do think I will, especially compared to, like, where Pokemon's going, I think I just want to give Digimon a bit more of a chance. And I'm gonna go back and watch the anime, by the way. Speaking of anime, man, Black Clover, I've been catching up on, which has also been really cool. But I kind of want to talk about my anime, interests another time. The video's been going on for almost an hour of me talking, and I think that's awesome, by the way, that the fact that I've been able to lose track of time that easily and just talk while playing this game for an hour. I've been able to put a lot more commitment here in this 1 hour of talking that I've been able to do in, like, a lot of things lately. I've been having a really hard time finding motivation and, finishing things that I started. Like, for example, like, back into, like, I guess the story, me talking about story games kind of leads into what I wanted to talk about next. But I decided to, after playing Digimon Time Strangers, I sat down and played it all the way through. I did not let myself get too off track with it or get hitched off. I beat it within a couple of weeks of buying it. Like, I sat down and played it very often, except on, like, the days where I couldn't. But, yeah, no, I played Digimon Time Stranger, like, very shortly before I quit, or I bought it very shortly before I quit. and I was playing it the weekend before, and then after like I quit, I started continuing to play it more so I could at least finish it all the way. With my job being gone and everything, I want to be able to build more of a schedule now, and the main thing is that I want to be able to like find the time to do all the things that I've never been able to do before, all these hobbies. Like there's certain things that I've kind of wanted to try out, that I kind of wanted to look around and just try, but I'm struggling so hard with like finding the motivation, or like, not the motivation, just also the confidence to be able to actually do it. I really want to do voice acting, and like I just played Dispatch. Like I was one of the people that was waiting for the game to fully release, like all the episodes before I actually played it. And that's what I did. Like the game fully released. It's Friday now. 2 days ago it released the full episodes. And I yesterday, or technically no, yesterday at morning, I got up because Dispatch released its episodes around like, afternoon of Wednesday, and I fell asleep really early after doing a lot on Wednesday. I got really tired early, and my sleep schedule is completely 180, by the way. I'm living a nocturnal lifestyle right now. Like, around this time where my girlfriend's at work is the time that I actually would get the most sleep, or sometimes in the evening after I pick her up from work. But this would be that time. I've been very nocturnal lately. The world is not built for this lifestyle. I do not want to be a nocturnal owl my whole life. But as of right now, my sleep schedule's in the crapper, and I want to move it around a bit. I want to be able to get it back to normal, but for right now, my insomnia is like not letting that happen. But I played Dispatch. I've been looking up to it for a while because I like visual novel Telltale games. Like, not visual novels. I like Telltale games. Like, I like, Choices Matter. Like, Detroit Become Human is one of my favorite games ever. I freaking love Detroit Become Human. And seeing, I don't watch Breaking Bad, but I recognize how awesome it is, and I recognize, the clips and Aaron Paul, Jesse Pinkman, and I've seen Aaron Paul in, like, other things. I've been following him a little bit, since, not just, I haven't been following him, he's kind of just been showing up on my feed, if anything. Like, I know he was on Hot Ones recently as well. So, like, he stayed relevant, though, after Breaking Bad. And he didn't live in, like, Bryan Cranston's shadow, which I think is awesome. And, seeing, like, Aaron Paul, like, in that made me really excited for it as well. And, of course, Moist Critical being in there was also really surprising and funny. And Jacksepticeye. And, of course, I saw a lot of, like, other people in the cast that I either recognized or didn't recognize. Like I said, I love Matthew Mercer, so seeing him, not only that, but he helped make the game, because I don't know how much of a, participation a Critical Role had into the creation of the game, but they're literally in, like, the intro logos, like, talking about how they helped make the game. And I know Matthew Mercer has just, like, and voice actors in general have always been involved. And, like, with a game like Date Everything that recently came out, which is kind of just a voice acting reunion, where it's like literally you get like a full-on character arc with all your furniture, which sounds goofy in hindsight, but the fact that they managed to get all these amazing voice actors to do all these awesome things and play these really uniquely made characters, by the way, all these characters had such unique personalities and, like, backgrounds. Like, I'm not into, like, dating sims. I'm not like, some freaking weird lonely gooner who feels like he has to, like, fill an empty hole in his life by having his furniture tell him he loves him, they love him. I feel like me saying he loves him like that would just sound weird. No, that's not like a weird self-report or anything. I feel like now it is if I'm addressing it, but whatever. Like, I'm not really a big fan of it, and I haven't played it like since like I haven't played it since it first came out, and like I played it when it first came out. Which, that sounded so terrible. But I found it awesome how they managed to do it. And, seeing them do the same thing with Dispatch made me really excited. So, seeing, like, when I first saw the trailer on just, like, some random post from IGN promoting it, saying, oh, this is Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad playing the main character, Robert Robertson. I don't know why, it just intrigued me so much. I don't know if the voice critical was even announced at this time, and I don't even know if that like would be like a factor into me playing it. Like I feel like I would have just played the game anyway. I think the game is cool, and you know, I I've played it all the way. Like in less than a day, I managed to play the entire game. Not technically, it's been a day. Like I started around sometime around now, like 24 hours ago from like right now where I'm recording. I don't really know what time it is. Oh, that. I just did nothing and cleared the island. It's 11 o'clock. Excuse me. I started around this time yesterday, and at first, like, I liked the game. I just thought that it was like, it was like a Telltale game, but like, what does that really mean? Until like, I played it, but I got so invested into it. I loved the story. Like at first, I was scared that there was no story at all, but in reality, it was mainly about the characters, and like the story did actually like pick up near like the last few episodes, and it actually managed to go somewhere, and I didn't hate it. Like the pacing, yeah, was a little bit weird, but I still freaking loved the story, and I thought it wrapped up. And my route, by the way, because Telltale Games choices matter. Like, I chose the Robert Robertson that would stay true to Mega Man and be like a real hero, only because I feel like for my first playthrough, I feel like I should stick to what the character truly wants to be. I don't like to self-insert. I like seeing where like, the story goes with the characters. I like seeing where they take it. And I did that here because I usually do that in Telltale. I try and also just whatever is considered the true ending I try to go for. Like with Detroit Become Human. Like that was my biggest priority is, the true ending, and I didn't even have to Google it. Like I knew what choices were right because they just felt right, I loved it. And I like the gameplay of just dispatching the heroes out. I kind of felt like that was just going to be like a slog and a chore at first, but it actually was really fun just like controlling them, like, and just resources like that, I guess. I don't know why I want more. And that's my biggest complaint is that the game was too damn short. I just finished it and I feel like it feels so, I guess, awesome, because like I loved how the story ended, but at the same time it also feels sad because I really want to be in the world more. I like the characters. I really wish I could just freely dispatch and mess around with them a bit. I wish that there was so much more, because I feel like that there's such a full and fleshed out world despite being an original IP. Same with the recent anime I started watching called To Be Hero X, and I feel the same exact way that I did when I finished that anime. I freaking love Dispatch. Like I genuinely love it. And for anyone wondering, I did, I chose Blonde Blazer. I really didn't feel like Invisigal was like, the kind of, person who I feel like I could comfortably, like I'm her mentor, and I'm trying to stick with that. I really didn't want to do both. Just it feels weird, when you teach someone and you hook up with them. Like I can't imagine that ever going well, by the way. I couldn't really vibe with it. I went for Blonde Blazer also because she was just the one that picked you up at your lowest, and she's been supportive, and she's always been really good. I chose someone who I believe like just fit for Robert better, but I think they both had a lot of like tension between the two of them. Like you couldn't go wrong with either option. For Robert's character specifically, like both of them fit him really well. It's just like from my standpoint, I didn't think that mentoring her and dating her at the same time just was right. Let's see. So yeah, I loved it. And then I look at the cast. I look at Travis Willingham at freaking Roy Mustang as the Nominee Man. I see, I don't even know who half the cast is. Like, I don't know the girl playing Malevola, Alana Pierce. I had to look some of them up, and I couldn't really get much, but like they do have some sort of background or like in voice acting or just video games in general or connections, and I always thought like damn, like just that's awesome that they get to, do what something like this, like just such an amazing game. And I always wondered or wanted to do that myself. I don't know what it is that holds me back. I don't know if it's because I feel like I won't be good enough, and truthfully, I really don't think I would be. As much as I love anime or games, and I also worry that, I might lose my passion for the hobby. I recently saw, like, a clip of Eric Vale, who plays Trunks in Dragon Ball Z, or Son Raku in, what's it called? Shangri-La Frontier, which was another great anime. Like, I saw, like, him talking about he doesn't watch anime at all, which it sounds shocking when I'm saying it out loud, but of course, obviously, when you think about it, it makes plenty of sense. And of course, like, his explanation just, like, solidified it a lot more. It's like, he even asked someone in the crowd, like, they're a chef somewhere, and he said, okay, perfect, when you have your day off, where do you go? You don't want to go back to work, right? You don't want to go back to your restaurant, because, like, it's your day off. You want to be as far away from there as possible. You don't want to go to eat there. Me going home after, you reported, like, he said 70, 80 hours of anime or shit, or voice acts, like, 70, 80 hours a week. Him going home to turn on anime would just be the equivalent of, going to eat where you work at. Just going right back to work on your, your time to unwind. I think that was another. Every time I look into voice acting, like each time I start to think, could I do it? There's always just something that I see that makes me wonder if it really is something that I'd want to even try. I look at that clip and I think like, geez, that's already another negative, is that I might lose my passion for the genre or the hobby. I probably wouldn't care anymore. And by the way, like, this video's been going on for an hour, and I think that, you know what, I might just be taking about an hour each day to talk instead of just a, half hour like planned, whatever. But, I don't want to lose my passion for the genre, and, oh, my cat wants to, okay, one second, my cat wants to step out. Okay, I am back. Sorry about that. I was saying I don't want to lose my passion for the genre or just the hobby. I keep messing up the words. I don't want to stop watching anime because I became a voice actor. I don't want to stop enjoying video games because of it either. Like, that would really suck, especially because, like, at times when I don't have much else, this was like one of the few things that kept me going. It was just having something that I know I could put my time and, hard into. And look, with just stories in general, it would always just be a great reality escape. But I feel like if I just make those stories, I wouldn't be able to, or maybe I just wouldn't want to, like, sit back and play it. Especially because I can imagine if you're, like, making a game, you're probably playing, like, the unfinished, early beta, stages of it, and it probably just, is annoying. Especially, like, video game testers. I remember once seeing, like, some article on that. I think my high school made me read it. Something, I think. Or maybe I just read it on... I think it most likely probably just read it on my own, knowing me. But, like, I remember also some, like, saying that, yeah, they really don't like to play video games anymore because... Or, not video games in general. The video game that they test. Like, for example, if you were to play, like, Skyrim in its earliest unfinished stages... I can imagine, like, after all, like, pouring, like, 50 hours a week into playing, unfinished Skyrim to see what's wrong with the game, it becomes really hard to just want to actually play Skyrim, because you've already poured in so much time into it, and it's just, like, you're seeing the exact same thing that you've done, like, 1,000 times. The only difference is now, there's a little bit more. Like, now this person's talking to you, and you see some trees in the background. now what, like there's captions, their armor has crest on it because, you know, they didn't have a design for what, you know, the knights should be wearing, or freaking with the Imperials technically. It's just, I don't want that to happen to the genre. I don't want to lose my, you know, passion. Oh my god, whoa! 3 legendaries, okay. That is crazy. Wow, I actually might win this just because of how lucky that was a really lucky random. Okay. Wow. I honestly I better not lose this just for that. Yikes. Well, then again, my perks don't really look boss fighty, so let's see what happens. Yeah, it's another issue. I'm worried about losing my interest in the you know, the entire scene. And another thing is money. I'm not a material person, and I don't ever want to you know, make something about money. But truth be told, like, they're never, from what I can find at least, and I remember like Kyle Herbert, who plays Gohan, or Hebert I believe is how you pronounce it, the voice actor for adult Gohan, said that there never has been much money and probably never will be into voice acting. Specifically with anime voice acting. With games, I know it's a little bit different, but I specifically was looking into anime at this time, even though it definitely should be both, and more so games, because I know that, you know, games do have a bit of a better pay grade, but I don't know how all that works, and I'd have to really put my time into learning the scene, and that's just like for the chance that I might, you know, eventually down the line, you know, get recognized and thrown into some big roles. But that's a very big if. And I'm really worried about, you know, once again, I put so much investment into something, and then at the end of the day, it'll all just be for naught. I have a huge fear of that happening because of how many times it's happened. And like I said, I feel like I almost always am making the wrong decision, and I'm really scared I'm going to do that again. So, I feel like that's what's holding me back. You know, just the money, the confidence, the time, and I don't really know where to start. I'm not that good either. Like, I can pull off random silly voices, but really, what does that do for anyone? No freaking voice acting recruiter is gonna see that. No, and even then, it's like to get a demo done, I know that costs a lot of money, and that demo alone is just to start getting you roles. But I saw like a comment even say like a bad demo will close a lot more doors than a good demo will open. Meaning if you fucking, like, if your demo is not good and you put all that money into nothing and you fucking suck, it'll, like, that's already, you've already kind of just, like, you know, it's like anti-marketing, like, you know, intentionally defacing your own product before, you know, someone buys it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to get my foot in the door only for me to, before I could even start, already fail. And that's, I think, you know, another big thing holding me back. I can't support my girlfriend with, you know, voice acting wage. I can't, you know, really find all of those connections and resources. I know that, like, you know, voice acting ain't really as competitive. Like, it's competitive, but it's a lot more of like a friendly competition compared to like acting. I was looking recently at reading an interview up with, like, you know, certain voice actors talking about it. They're not really, like, you know, trying to fight each other for roles. Like, sometimes they'll see a role and, like, you know, think, like, oh, this won't be for me, but this person might be better. And they've even just outright said, like, they texted or messaged the person and let them know about the role. I even seen, like, that person, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It's Laura Bailey, who plays Invisigal in Dispatch. She was one of the most popular voice actors, and I looked specifically her up because after I played Dispatch, you know, I completed it like 5 o'clock in the morning today, and a little bit earlier, and then I got back into Spider-Man 2 because I'm vowing to complete all the story games I never finished. And Spider-Man 2, you know, Miles Morales and Peter Parker, you know, Venom,
for PS4 to PC. You know which Spider-Man 2 I'm talking about. Marvel Spider-Man 2. Like, I bought that game when it first came out earlier this year, but I never finished it. I'm at the very end. I actually, literally, I didn't even have to play for 1 hour, and I got to the point where, like, Miles unlocked his very crappy Colgate Man suit, which I still don't understand how that they thought that was a good idea. That suit is terrible. Like, it looks ugly, and obviously, like, people don't like Miles' hair. No, people didn't like Peter's hair. Like, the character designs in 2 were just all fucked up. I do not like a single one of the main casts. Like, and the main cast is Miles, Peter, MJ, and Harry. I don't like how any of them look. I don't like Peter's new look. I don't like, you know, what they changed from the PS4. I don't like Miles' haircut. I don't like how they made MJ look like, you know, I don't know how they made MJ, but she looked way cooler in 1. I liked her ponytail a lot more. Just her, like, with the design in 2, it looks weird. It doesn't look like her at all, mainly. It doesn't look like, you know, her in 1. And I think that Harry's design was also secretly changed, because all we had before was just like those screenshots of, like, you know, like Peter's, like, when you did like his little missions in Spider-Man 1 and he left those voicemails for you to, like, you know, like talking about like pollution or whatever while you went to go like handle that. Like, that photo, I liked how he looked there, but like seeing in, like, you know, the graduate photos from like Peter's apartment, the graduation photos, excuse me, I liked how he looked a lot, you know, there a lot more. I don't like how he looks in 2. And I feel like it's just me complaining about everything, but yeah, I don't really care for the character designs. But yeah, anyway, I guess because I heard Laura Bailey and everything, I guess she's just the, like, one of the quintessential voice actresses. Like, she is up there with, like, Steve Bloom, Tara Strong. I'm trying to think of, like, other big voice actors, but, like, Bryce Papenbrook. I'm trying to think of other big, you know, all-time, like, Chris Sabat. Chris Sabat's, like, probably, I think, I'd say he's the biggest name in voice acting of all time. And Alex Lee, who is, you know, probably modern day's most popular voice actor, because that guy is almost always, like, topping the charts of my anime, or not my anime list, behind the voice actors. Like, his you know, for dub voice actors, he's always at the top of the list for, like, trending for the week, meaning that most people have looked up his characters / himself, or, like, you know, his, you know, portfolio of voices. So, which is awesome. I love Alex Lee. I've liked him since I saw Demon Slayer, you know, years ago with Zenitsu. I love Solo Leveling, and him playing Genu was awesome. So yeah, seeing that was pretty damn epic. But what's it called? Yeah, seeing, like, those big voice actors, and, like, you know, I guess playing Spider-Man 2 made me think of Laura Bailey. So I looked up how she got into voice acting, and I saw the interview, and she talked about, you know, how she got into it so easily with, like, playing Kid Trunks. Even though I remember her, like, playing Chi-Chi in Dragon Ball Z, so I, like, you know, adult Chi-Chi, so I don't know how she was playing Kid Trunks and not, no, wait, no, I'm mixing her up with Cynthia Kranz. Cynthia Kranz plays Chi-Chi, she plays Botan in Yu Yu Hakusho as well, and I know Laura Bailey is in Yu Yu Hakusho because she played Keiko, which is the love interest for the main character Yusuke. For I'm sure you know what Yu Yu Hakusho is, and you can probably know who Keiko is, but you never know, man. I'm trying to make sure that everyone can keep up with my yap session. But you know, yeah, I read up on the interview, and I don't know, like, just seeing all that, like, you know, goes into the friendly competition, it's cool and all. And, like, all the voice actors are, she said, like, you know, everyone's, like, tight-knit, everyone seems to be friends. And then you look at, like, Critical Role on, like, the YouTube channel for it, like, it was originally just, like, what feels like, you know, some dorm room party-ish, essentially, where it's, like, you know, people hanging out, that eventually turned into just... If you look at Critical Role, it's kind of just a bit of everything for video games. Like, there's D&D campaigns, like, there's them talking, there's, like, one-shots for shit, like, you know, things that they help make. Like, Critical Role is a little bit of everything with all, like, you know, closest friends of voice actors. Like, you go on there, you can see, like, you know, Matthew, you see them bring on guests, like Alex Lee recently went on there, you can see, you know, Travis Willingham is also on that main. I'm not gonna pretend like I know fully how Critical Role works. I know like the very basics of like, you know, what they are, like who's in it, mainly that it's led by Matthew Mercer. But outside of that, I just know that they're like, you know, they're pillars for gaming right now and voice actors in general, which is something that I really appreciate. And you know, if I were to get into voice acting, I would love to like, you know, have that kind of community where I know that like people would have my back. You know, we're not trying to fight over roles. We're trying to think of like, you know, each other in a good way. Though I'm acting as if like, you know, I could just randomly fit in, but I'd be a fucking outcast, knowing me. But that would be pretty cool. Like I really would love to have gotten into voice acting, but I feel like even just like no matter what, it's not gonna go well, and I'm gonna invest all of it into a flop, and I don't have that in me to just keep failing. I really don't think I have another big failure in me anymore, because I feel like my next big failure might just push me to my absolute limit. And I don't want to find out when my breaking point is. I don't want to find out how many more failures until like I finally get tired of trying. Because I'm on that path. I'm getting close to the point where I'm tired of trying because I can't seem to succeed. And maybe a lot of it is because of my mental health, but man, I would love to just grow the confidence and one day just be able to do something like that. I'd love to voice act, man. It would truly be just an honor to be able to somehow start. And I've looked into it. I've looked up how to even try to get my foot through the door. And I feel like I don't know what it is. I really want to, and I'm trying to. Main reason with this channel, I want to just have a place to talk to myself. So when I do talk to myself, I can probably come around better to these conclusions. I have a very hard time of like, you know, wording things out. When I think of how I describe something, like just some random thing in life, or like, you know, the plot of something, just like if I were to have like, you know, these conversations with myself, blah blah blah. Oh my god, my words get muddled when I talk fast. That's another issue. But in these self-talks, I really don't have the proper way to find the words, and I'm always talking in my mind because every time I feel like I'm talking out loud. If I'm not talking to someone, I feel like I feel like I'm, you know, borderline schizophrenic, just talking to no one and, you know, expecting me talking out loud like I'm expecting someone to reply. And you know what? If we die here, we die here. This will probably be the last bit. But we're gonna go down swinging, damn it. But yeah, no, I want to be able to give myself a little bit of clarity with stuff like this. I want to talk to myself, and I want to look more into voice acting. I feel like now, because I have the time, which is something I really did not have at all before, I can't say I have the money. I don't know how much is going to go into voice acting with like making the booth, but I'm really worried that it's going to require a lot of money and resources, and that's all to just get started. And you know, you're not even going to start with voice acting with getting paid, by the way. Like, if you're going to get paid at all, it'll be like $5 a roll. I don't know how voice acting pay really works outside of what I've seen, like, you know, the big leagues with anime specifically. It's like a couple of hours at a time, and it's freelance. It's like you work when they call you and they want you to work. So as good as like the pay is per hour for a 40-hour work week, realistically you can expect yourself in the booth for like 2 hours at a day at most, or 3 hours for like one specific role. And you know, I'm not, you know, expecting someone to be out here gangbanging roles, like, you know, I don't know why I just said that. But I don't expect it to be great, and I don't expect any money at all. But thing is, in the long term, like a couple months down the line, like if I were to make it my primary job and to go out and make flights, or like, you know, I don't even know if they cover. I'm assuming that you're gonna be the one who pays for the flight to go to a studio, and you know, to go to this, you know, recording. You're probably gonna pay for the hotel if you're staying for like the next few days to record, like, you know, a bunch of shit. I don't know how all that works. And the amount of research required, I'm scared, man. Like, it truthfully means I'm really just scared. I want to get into it. I want to figure it out how, and I really feel like, one day I'll get there. But for right now, I just need to find some place where I can talk. Maybe even just talk to myself with little silly voices. I just needed a safe space, and maybe posting, you trauma dumping randomly online is not the best way to have an outlet. I'm not really trying to, gain anything that I say to be like an attention farm. Like, I'm not trying to let this be like a call to help and hope that some voice actors randomly do just see this video and then just say, hey, I'm a voice actor and I feel really fucking sorry for your pathetic ass, so I'm gonna help you out. That would be really funny if that did happen, admittedly. And I probably would entertain it. I absolutely would. Because you know what? Any chance, even if a fake, is still a chance. And you know what? Invisigal literally just proved to me in freaking, what's it called, Dispatch, that even if someone walks in with, like, weird intent at first, nah, that's not even a great lesson to carry into real life. Like, that was, like, that's only because I mentored her right, but she really was a traitor, and I actually was trusting her up until the end. I just happened to be lucky that me trusting her goodness, she still ended up being good, even though she actually was a villain the whole time. But then she ended up still choosing, like, the right path and becoming a hero. But I feel like there's still good in the world. And I feel like I can still do better. I don't want to just... Damn, this is a nice gun. I completely forgot about this weapon. I probably played it when it first came out. I want to do some more, man. I want to stop, like, dreaming, and I want to start actually just doing. I want to look into it. I just don't know where to start. I don't know how to voice act well. Like, it's another thing. I'm not good at it. I don't know if I've said that yet. I probably have 1,000 times knowing me. I'm just worried, man. But, maybe this will just be like a mark of a journey to more self-confidence or self-love. Maybe this is just, my weird therapy session. But in reality, I just want to have something that I can talk to. Something that I can look at every day and just yap at. Like I said, I expect 0 people to watch this shit. This might even go 10 years and not a single person has ever seen anything that I ever put out. But hey, man, if at least at the end of the day there's someone who can enjoy hearing me talk, someone who can just listen, and even at the end of the day, someone who can honestly just help, give me advice, anything would honestly matter. Like, even if you just listened, at least, my problems are being heard. And I guess they're self-inflicted problems because I just seem to be the one who puts myself in that situation. But I'd appreciate it if I'm being heard. So I guess that's kind of why I'm making this, because I want to know that at least in some way or shape or form I am trying my best. I guess my best isn't really doing much so far, but I really am trying to be heard. And if this is my method, then you know what? This is my method. I'll come back here tomorrow, sit in front of them. You know what? No, today's Friday. Think I'll make the weekends a little bit more about me and just, come back here on Monday and, yeah, at the very least, talk about what I'm doing, where I plan on going next, and we'll see where it goes. This might even just be literally the only video that I ever make, and that I probably forget about this and never do it again. Honestly, it's up in the air. Tomorrow I could completely forget. I probably might not, but in reality, what's going to happen now is I'm going to hit stop record, and I'm just going to go and upload this video. I probably said something stupid. I don't care. I'm just going to upload the yap session, and if you enjoy it, and you're listening now, cool. Watch the next one if there is one. Just hear whatever the fuck I gotta say next day. But if not, whatever. There's no real attachment here to what I'm doing, but I want to have something I can do. And I think that's enough reason for me. It's not really honorable. It's not really, inspiring, but it's something. And with that, I think we're going to stop it here for the day. I am kind of hungry, actually. Been going on for an hour and a half. It's great. For some reason, if you decided to, for some weird reason, hear me for the last 90 minutes, thank you. Like, from the bottom of my heart. Like, if you really, for some reason, sat here and listened to me for an hour and a half, thank you, man. Like, or woman, whatever. I don't care who or what you are. I don't even care if you're some alien watching this from an extraterrestrial planet, you know, watching on that weird intergalactic Wi-Fi. Like, thank you, man. Just, thank you. Sometimes it just matters that we're heard, and if you're also going through something, if you're also struggling with whatever, whether similar to me or not, if you're just going through shit, man, I hope it gets better for you. And I hope you know you're not alone with struggles. Everyone struggles every day. But thank you for at least letting me sit down and talk about mine for the last hour and a half. And, well, if all goes well and, you know, motivation gets through, I'll see you guys on Monday. And, yeah. Not even see, but you'll hear my voice again, probably. Though I don't know what I'll be playing. I will be playing... You know what? I think I'll probably play Risk of Rain, because they're dropping that DLC Monday, and I'm excited for that. So yeah, see you guys Monday, probably on Risk of Rain 2. And, yeah, I'm gonna hit stop recording now. I forgot what... Oh wait, I remember now. Yep, stop recording in 3, 2...